thank you all for joining me today.
It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as First Lady of the United States.
Donald is and always has been an amazing leader.
Mrs. Trump, if you can tell us, what was it like to vote for your husband today?
A very exciting day.
Were you very proud?
And I travel around the world modeling and had a great career.
It would not be a Trump contest without excitement and drama.
This may be the most beautiful evening of the year.
So, what happens when a former supermodel marries a billionaire and then becomes the First Lady of the United States? Sounds like the plot of a Hollywood movie, right? But nope, this is real life. It's Melania Trump's life. And trust me, it's way more interesting than anything you've seen on the big screen. From Slovenia to the White House, Melania's journey is packed with twists and turns, secrets, luxury, and yes, a lot of challenges. Stick around, get the inside scoop on what it's really like to live like a billionaire's wife, while also having the entire world watch your every move. Trust me, this is a story you don't want to miss. All right, let's be real. When you think of Melania Trump, you probably think of designer dresses, glam photo shoots, and a life that feels miles away from anything most of us could imagine. But here's the thing, Melania's life didn't start off in a fancy mansion. She grew up in a small town in Slovenia, and her story is one of ambition, determination, and of course, a little bit of luck. In this video, we're not just diving into her high-profile moments. We'll go behind the scenes, uncovering what it's really like to live as a supermodel turned First Lady, married to one of the world's wealthiest men. Spoiler alert, it's not all as glamorous as it seems. So by the time you finish watching this, I guarantee you'll see Melania in a totally different light. Whether you've always thought of her as a mystery or you've been curious about her success story, you'll walk away with a much deeper understanding of who she is. Ready to find out how a small-town girl became the center of a billion-dollar empire? Let's jump right in. Before the glamorous photo shoots and billion-dollar lifestyle, Melania Trump was just a small-town girl from Slovenia. She was born in Sevnica, a town that most of us probably couldn't locate on a map, but hey, that's where her story started. Growing up in the 1970s, life wasn't exactly the shiny, glitzy world we associate her with today. Her family wasn't rich. Her dad was a car dealer, and her mom worked as a pattern maker. They weren't living in luxury, but they had a strong work ethic and a close-knit family. Melania, though, had bigger dreams. She wasn't content with a simple life in Sevnica. Even as a teenager, she had that spark, that drive that most people only talk about. She wanted more, and she was determined to make it happen. So, while most of her friends were focusing on the usual teenage stuff, Melania set her sights on something much bigger, the world of modeling. Now, picture this. You're 18, you've grown up in a small European town, and suddenly, you're deciding to move halfway across the world to New York City. That's exactly what Melania did. She didn't just show up to New York with a suitcase and a dream. She was focused. She had a plan. She wasn't just going to be another pretty face in the crowd. She was going to make her mark. And that's exactly what she did. It wasn't easy. Starting out in the modeling world is tough. And New York City isn't exactly known for rolling out the red carpet for newcomers. But Melania worked her way into high-profile campaigns, landing big-name gigs with brands like Shiva, Gucci, and even Vogue. And just like that, she wasn't just Melania from Sevnica anymore. She was Melania, the model making waves in the fashion world. Let's rewind a bit. Long before Melania Trump became a household name for her role in politics, she was making waves in the fashion world. And let me tell you, Melania didn't just dip her toes into the modeling scene. She dove in headfirst. By the time she was in her early 20s, she was already gracing the covers of Vogue, strutting down the runways of major fashion shows, and working with some of the top photographers in the industry. This wasn't a quick flash-in-the-pan career for her. Her beauty was undeniable, but she wasn't just a pretty face. Melania quickly earned a reputation for being professional, hardworking, and dedicated. She had this drive that was impossible to ignore. But here's the thing, Melania wasn't just content with being a supermodel. She had bigger plans for herself. It wasn't long before she started branching out. By the mid-2000s, she wasn't just living the typical model's life. She was stepping into the world of business. That's when she launched Melania Skin, her own line of skincare products. It wasn't just about looks anymore. It was about building an empire. Her beauty had opened the doors, but her brains and ambition kept them wide open. Now, let's talk about the lifestyle that came with all of the success. By this point, Melania was no longer just attending glamorous events or shooting with the world's top photographers. She was living the life of someone who'd officially made it into the Billionaires League. Private jets, exclusive vacations, yachts, and private islands were now a part of her everyday reality. Luxury had become her new normal. And let's be honest, it was a lifestyle many of us only dream about. And we're not talking about small luxury here. We're talking about the Trump family's wealth, billionaire status, with all the access to the most exclusive things in life. Mansions in multiple countries, high-end private events, and a life that was lived at the very top of the social ladder. Melania was right there in the mix, living it all. And this was before she even met Donald Trump. She was already in a league of her own, running her own businesses, building her brand, and rubbing elbows with the global elite. So, how did Melania end up with a billionaire mogul? Well, it all started back in 1998 at a party in New York City. Donald Trump, the man who practically defines wealth and power, spotted Melania across the room. He was intrigued, to say the least. But here's the thing, Melania wasn't one to be easily impressed. In fact, she wasn't even ready to give him her number at first. Can you imagine? The future First Lady wasn't exactly falling for the billionaire charm right away. But Donald, being Donald, was about to give up that easily. He worked his magic with a combination of persistence and humor. And after a little back and forth, Melania finally caved and agreed to give him her number. But it wasn't all about his money or fame. There was something more to Donald that intrigued her, something that drew her and beyond the flashy exterior. As the next few years passed, their relationship grew. Now, I know what you're thinking. Melania, a supermodel, getting involved with one of the richest men in the world? But it wasn't just about the wealth. Melania genuinely started to connect with Donald on a personal level. She was curious about him, not just as a businessman, but as a person. Yes, the whole billionaire thing was there, but it was his personality that kept her interested. And let's be honest, there's more to Donald than just the money and the headlines. By 2005, Donald knew she was the one. He popped the question, and just like that, the couple was engaged. In a whirlwind of luxury, they tied the knot in a lavish ceremony that made headlines around the world. Melania officially became Mrs. Trump, and just like that, her life shifted from the world of modeling and business to something even more high profile, being married to a billionaire. It was a whole new chapter, and not one she could have ever predicted. So what was life really like for Melania when she became First Lady? It wasn't all about the designer outfits and glamorous events, though don't get me wrong, there were plenty of those. Melania had to carve out her own role, and she did just that. One of her most significant initiatives was the Be Best campaign, which focused on improving children's well-being, combating cyberbullying, and promoting healthy online habits. It wasn't just about being a pretty face beside her husband. Melania wanted to make a real impact, and she used her platform to address some serious issues that affect kids today. But let's talk about something that's often overlooked: her ability to maintain some level of privacy. Despite being under constant public scrutiny, Melania found ways to keep her personal life, well, personal. While other First Ladies were known for their public engagements and frequent interactions with the media, Melania took a different approach. She preferred to keep a low profile, retreating to their private Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida when she needed a break from the spotlight. It's not that she didn't care about her role. She just knew when to step back and take care of herself. And then there's her style. Oh, her style. Melania was always on point, whether it was at a state dinner or just a casual outing. She became a fashion icon in her own right. Let's talk about that stunning inauguration gown. Everyone remembers it, right? It was classic, elegant, and absolutely on brand for a First Lady. But even her more casual appearances showed her taste. She had this ability to look polished and refined, but also approachable. Her wardrobe really spoke to her status and impeccable taste. Of course, with all the attention came a lot of challenges. Being in the White House meant constant media scrutiny, and Melania didn't escape the sharp eye of the press. from her outfits to her public appearances. The media was always analyzing and commenting. Yet, through it all, Melania remained composed, maintaining a calm, collected presence. It's almost as if she was prepared for challenges that came with being the First Lady, and she handled it all with the kind of grace that you can't teach. She wasn't just a bystander in the political world. She became an influential figure, even if she didn't always play by the same rules as the others before her. All right, let's dive into what Melania's life really looks like behind those polished public appearances. First off, let's talk real estate, because wow, the Trump properties are not just homes, they're icons of wealth and power. I mean, take Mar-a-Lago in Florida, for example. This isn't just a place to crash on weekends. Mar-a-Lago is a sprawling estate that's basically the epitome of luxury. Then there's Trump Tower in New York, standing tall with a view that screams, "I've made it." These aren't the types of places you just casually walk into. They're designed to show off the Trump name, and trust me, they do just that. Now, ever wonder what it's like to travel in a private jet? For Melania, it's just another Tuesday. Whether it's a quick escape to one of their private estates or a longer getaway to a far-flung corner of the world, flying private is a daily reality. Forget cramped airplane seats or checking in at airports. Melania's world of travel is one of total convenience and, of course, luxury. Private jets are part of that lifestyle that most of us can only dream of. I mean, imagine being able to hop on a plane without the usual hustle and bustle of airport security. For Melania, that's just how she rolls. But let's not forget fashion. Melania's wardrobe isn't just about looking good. Each outfit is a statement. Whether she's attending a high-profile state dinner or stepping out at an international event, her clothes always turn heads. We're talking about top designers like Ralph Lauren, Dolce & Gabbana, and Chanel. Every piece is handpicked to exude power, grace, and, yes, wealth. She knows how to wear her status with elegance, and her fashion choices often become the talk of the town. Imagine stepping into a room and instantly commanding attention just by the way you're dressed. That's Melania's superpower. And of course, there's the luxury living. Think yachts, designer everything, and parties so extravagant they make your head spin. The Trump family's lifestyle isn't just about owning things. It's about living at a level where luxury becomes normal. We're talking about yachts big enough to host a mini party, private islands that only the ultra-wealthy could dream of owning, and events where the guest list reads like a who's who of the world's elite. Whether at a quiet retreat or an extravagant gala, Melania's world is one that is custom-made for the rich and powerful. And the craziest part? It's just her normal. This is a life that Melania has lived for years. An exclusive world of wealth, luxury, and style that's as far removed from most people's reality as you can get. But for Melania, it's just another day in the life of a billionaire's wife. Behind all the glam and high-profile events, there's another side to Melania, one that's a lot more relatable and, frankly, a bit quieter. She's not just a glamorous first lady. She's also a mom, and that role means everything to her. Melania is fiercely protective of her son, Barron, and has always been very private about his life. The media might try to invade their personal space, but Melania has done everything she can to keep Barron's childhood as normal as possible. She wants him to grow up away from the chaotic spotlight, to have a childhood that's just for him, not a product of constant media attention. It's clear that being a mother is at the core of who she is, and she's done a great job shielding Barron from the pressures of growing up in the White House. Now, let's talk about her marriage to Donald. This has been one of the most talked about aspects of Melania's life. The media loves to speculate about their relationship, but Melania herself has stayed largely silent about it. That's one thing about her. She doesn't give in to the noise. Her calm, composed demeanor means that the public doesn't always know what's going on behind closed doors, but that's the way she likes it. Their marriage may be under the microscope, but Melania isn't about to share the details for the world to see. She's private, reserved, and above all, protective of her personal life. When she's not handling the responsibilities of being First Lady or focusing on her family, Melania also has some personal interests that help her unwind. For one, she's got a great eye for interior design. In fact, she's often involved in the design and decor of the places she calls home. She enjoys reading, too, often looking for a bit of escape in a good book. And let's not forget that she's a big advocate for staying fit. Whether it's yoga, hiking, or just staying active, Melania makes sure she takes care of herself, both mentally and physically, despite being the public eye. Melania's personal life is about balancing everything with grace. She enjoys quality time with her family, and when the cameras aren't around, that's where she finds peace. Behind the headlines, she's just a woman doing her best to live her life and be the best mom she can be. Let's be real here. Being First Lady comes with a whole lot of scrutiny, and for Melania, it's been no different. She's definitely had her fair share of mixed reactions. Some people love her calm, reserved style, while others criticize her for not being as outspoken or visible as other First Ladies. But honestly, that's just who Melania is. She's always been the type to keep her cards close to her chest, reserved, dignified, and not one for making waves. While some might have expected her to be more vocal, that's simply not her way. She's a quiet strength behind her husband, preferring action over words and elegance over drama. And then, of course, there's the criticism. You can't escape it when you're constantly in the public eye. But what's interesting about Melania is how she handles all the negativity. While other public figures might jump into the fray, defending themselves, Melania rarely engaged with her critics. Instead, she stuck to her guns, staying true to herself and rarely letting the noise around her affect her. She's one of those rare people who seem to have the ability to brush off the criticism and stay focused on her own path. In a world that's often obsessed with constant commentary, Melania's ability to remain composed and not react to every jab is, frankly, impressive. She didn't need to explain herself or seek validation. She understood the importance of staying calm under pressure, and in doing so, maintained a certain level of mystery, something that only added to her allure. So now that the White House is behind her, what's next for Melania? Will she step back into the spotlight, or is she planning to retreat into a life of privacy? Honestly, only time will tell. After years of living in the most public way possible, it wouldn't be surprising if she took a quieter approach, spending more time with her family, or simply enjoying a more relaxed life. But knowing Melania, I'm not sure she'll just fade into the background. This is a woman who's been at the top for so long, and she's used to carving out her own path. What could we see from her next? Well, it's likely that we'll hear more from her skincare line, Melania Skin, which has been one of her business ventures before and during her time as First Lady. Maybe she'll expand that into more beauty or wellness products. After all, she's always had a keen eye for aesthetics and luxury. Who knows where that could lead her? She could also dive into other business ventures, whether in fashion, real estate, or something else entirely. She's proven she's more than just a pretty face and definitely has the brains to match her beauty. But beyond business, the big question remains, what kind of legacy will she leave? As First Lady, she worked on initiatives like Be Best and focus on children's well-being, but she always stayed out of the spotlight in a way few First Ladies have. Will she be remembered for that? Or maybe her legacy will be more about her business acumen and her ability to navigate life in the public eye with such grace. Or perhaps it will be about something else entirely, the way she forged her own path, often against the odds. In the end, Melania Trump's legacy will be hers to define, and I wouldn't be surprised if she continues to surprise us for years to come. Melania Trump's life is full of surprises. What we know is only the tip of the iceberg. From her humble beginnings in Slovenia to stepping into the White House, she's navigated a world most of us can't even imagine. Throughout it all, she's maintained a level of grace, privacy, and mystery that's made her both a fascinating and enigmatic figure. Whether you love her, dislike her, or are still unsure, one thing for certain, her story is far from over. So what do you think? Has Melania been misunderstood all these years? Or is she exactly who the public thinks she is? Is she just a First Lady? Or is there more to her than meets the eye? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. I'm sure there's a lot to discuss here. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive into Melania's life, don't forget to subscribe. We got plenty more fascinating stories and behind-the-scenes looks into the lives of people who've made history. So stay tuned.